Good afternoon, everyone. This is UC from iTradePrice, and welcome to the weekly episode where we go over all the charts that we follow and trade. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so here's the Amazon chart in daily. Let's start with the weekly time frame. So as you can see, the weekly time frame shows that we have this long bottom wick and the top wick. So in a weekly time frame, we did manage to close above, or actually remain above, the 3250 or 3247 if you want to be exact, the resistance here. We kind of just flushed through it late Friday, but didn't, just kind of snap back up throughout the later part of Friday and managed to close above. So weekly time frame still looks like okay, the trend is good, but a little sideways action, just like what we had here previously in early July kind of time frame. Drilling down to the daily time frame, here is that long bottom wick, and we are below the trend line, but not really crazy below, right? So the shift is still, I would say, neutral. I'm not really bearish on this name right now because it held the 3240, 3247 support, which was the resistance on the way up. So we're sort of in that congestion zone where this still looks okay, and we'll see how early Tuesday price action kind of gives us any indication, hey, whether this was a good buying opportunity or this is the start of something bigger. So but I'm sort of neutral to cautiously bullish for right now. This it's still right there at 20 SMA, so looks okay to me. Okay, and this could end up being a trend bar failure trade as well, where you have this big trend bar down and then there is no trend bar follow through to the downside. Yes, it did give you that flush point, but then buyers saw that as an opportunity, and once it touched the 50 SMA, which is this green line, buyers took it all the way back up. So let's see how Tuesday or early next week, when the US session opens up, we start trading. And where does this show up? Apple, again, let's start with the weekly time frame. This bar looks very, again, similar to Amazon, very evenly kind of distributed. We have this top wick right here, and then the bottom wick, and the body is also sort of the same range as the top and bottom wick. Okay, but the close was below previous week's low, so that is somewhat of bearish, but again, it's still maintaining the bullish trend line. Kind of just snap back up, and nothing too concerning in terms of that, hey, the trend is all broken or anything like that. And you can see it closed right at the 20 SMA, which is the yellow line. So yeah, looks okay. And if we get some sideways movement with some constructive price action to lead it back up towards the highs, that's all good. I mean, I'm more willing to play a bullish play on this one than a bearish. So look for any pullbacks, and in the lower time frame, we can time the entry by just seeing if it's holding the moving averages, or if it's giving any buying pressure like that. Okay, Microsoft daily time frame, weekly below the channel bottom, it closed right there, but it held this kind of a support, 212 support, which is sort of a resistance on the way up, and now it's acting as support, which is a good sign. And in drilling down to the daily time frame, it is managed to be above 50 SMA, but it's still a little bit below the yellow line, which is the 20 SMA. So not too bullish on this name unless we see some moves back up, some bullish trend bars going back up. So we can always look into by going into a 4-hourly chart, just kind of lower time frame, and see where the resistances are in the shorter time frame, and you can see from the 4-hourly bar 218.4 has been the resistance multiple times here recently. So unless or until we get back above that, above this trend line, you have to just play cautiously long, right? Otherwise it can just kind of chop around here or something like that. So just look for that kind of price action. Okay, Netflix, good action in terms of that it gave you a really wide range week to play. So all the way up it went 558 and towards the low end towards the 483, but which was the kind of a low of the previous week. So a neutral looking bar, and which closed above 500 psychological support, which closed above 511, which was a short-term support. So again, nothing bearish. It's holding its trend, whatever it is, and it's neutral. So we will stay with what the charts tell us and not try to implicate anything that hey, it could be bearish and all that stuff. So not going to play around that. And there's a really cool feature actually here in Thinkorswim, which you can sometimes, it kind of gives you, so if you remove the wicks, right, where was a gap down, we went all the way down and then back up. So it was sort of a very, open and close was very close to each other. So if it was bearish, too bearish, we would have seen a close below at least 511 or even towards 500 level. So yeah, I mean, it looks like the sellers got exhausted here towards the end, and now we can kind of chop around and start moving back up, as long as moving averages are held, as long as this 511 is held. I'm leaning bullish in this name. Okay, so we'll put the VIX back. All right, let's look at Facebook. All right, Facebook weekly time frame. Again, a lot of these names will have similar looking weekly bars because of the range and the price action it gave. On Friday you have strong early start of the week, and then you had flush point towards the end of the week, and then it got back up late Friday. So that's why you have this kind of top and bottom wicks here in the weekly time frame that you can see. So nothing too bad, just a little pullback with 304, 305 becoming the resistance here in the weekly time frame. Oops, that's monthly actually. But in the weekly as well, you can see the same kind of story. It held the 268 support, which is nice. And again, this is a similar to what we had a few weeks ago, where you had this nice push up and then a little weekly non-trend bar, which was a red bar, right? But nothing too concerning to say, hey, the bears have control and the market will sell off and all that stuff. So again, same story, just a pause, still the trend is up, so nothing too concerning for bulls here. In the daily time frame, yes, we did see a flush point, but then it got back up. The 20 SMA, it got back up, it remained above 268, which was sort of the tough weekly support that bulls kind of really made sure that it held that level, and it did. So nothing too concerning. I anticipate we'll might see some action sideways, but then it will probably start getting back up. The resistance to overcome for bulls would be 290.9, 291 if you want to round it off, because that was the support here all this prior in the prior sessions there that it held. And once it broke below that, we saw this flush, but so now that can act as a little bit of short-term resistance. So look for the price to get back above that if you want to play aggressively towards the long side. Okay, let us go into BA. BA actually held pretty well Friday. So here's the weekly chart. Let me kind of show it a little bit nicely here. So nothing, exciting, but it's just that, hey, it's sideways action. It's holding 164, 165 level, and just this 181 area has been a tough resistance for it to break. Anytime it tries to make the move above that, sellers come in and just push the price back down. And in the daily, it broke down on Friday, but then got back up. So that is a good sign. Now let's see if we get a bullish bar here on Tuesday, to give some indication that bulls are back, buyers are back, and they're going to try to take it back towards 181, right? So don't just get in if the price moves up unless you have some indication in the daily time frame that we are seeing buyers step in, because you can see this is a 50 and a 20 moving average, 20 SMA, right? The moves below these SMA are more you can say a little bit deeper, and then every time it tries to go back above the 50 SMA, there is no bar that closed completely above the 50 SMA, right? So unless or until we see that, it is hard to kind of actually even swing this name. So there's just all these overlaps here, and more of these overlaps are bearish in nature with top wicks. So still selling pressure, but again, that selling pressure does not translate into any big downside follow through. So little range bound between 166, 181 level. So buy the dip, sell the rips, kind of a price action here. Okay, ROKU. Let's go into weekly. This looks like a nice, actually, inverted head and shoulders with left shoulder, head, and then right shoulder with, but not too good looking of a neckline, but it is what it is. Okay, so now just looking at the weekly time frame, I see more weekly trend bars here, and then we would not get any downside follow through whenever we get a pause, right? We got this nice push upside and then a little sideways movement holding the 50% level here, and then big move up holding the 50% level here of this breakout bar, and then now again we got this pushback up and still kind of holding this 50% move towards the downside, right? So that is something that works towards the bullish scenario, right? And if you drill down to a daily time frame, again, it held that 150 support, which is now a psychological support as well. We got this nice, pull back. Actually, that could be a good opportunity. Now if we get a bullish bar here, and I think we can try to swing this name towards 177, 185 even, if we get some nice bullish action here. So it could be that we chop sideways for some few days, but so let's let the price tell you what to do rather than trying to predict and say, hey, we're going to go up or we're just going to flush back down. So rather than that, just see if you get some pause here and some constructive price action in the lower time frame. So that could be a tell. But this whole 142 to 150 has been a big support area for multiple weeks, and it's good to see that ROKU held that as well on Friday. The 50 SMA provided a really nice support. It touched that and then bounced back up and closed above 20 SMA. Very nice action. Okay, let's look at Tesla last but not the least. Okay, weekly time frame, big top wick, long bottom wick as well, sideways for the most part if you just look at it from the weekly price point. Okay, I mean, if I remove the wicks, yes, we can say it's sort of a little bit of bearish engulfing, right, where you have this last week's open that was above the prior week's open, but then the close was even below the prior week's low. So that is a little bit of bears can make that case. But again, if you drill down to the daily time frame, this good looking hammer bar on Friday, which actually managed to close above the low of the prior two sessions from Wednesday and Thursday. So looking good here. Buyers need 432 plus to start pushing the price back up, and bears can, I think, start making a case once we see price below 370, because 370 has been such a good support zone. 370, 371 if you want to just kind of round it off. But yeah, look, multiple touch points here, another touch point here. Now if we see a flush down here, I'd be careful not to buy the bounce, because it can just kind of break down from here. So if we get a pullback, I would rather wait to see if this area of support is held to play any kind of pullback. But if we start moving back above 432, that can be a nice kind of a breakout trade above this multiple touch point resistance of 432. Okay, so I hope you guys like this short and summary of the stocks that we follow and trade on a daily basis. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, please don't hold back. You can always email us or leave a message on Twitter. Thank you and have a good rest of your evening. Bye-bye.